Morning she left. It was a Saturday morning in late spring, the kind where the sunlight comes in soft and yellow, making the kitchen feel warmer than it is. The house smelled faintly of coffee and the cheap pancake mix the kids liked. I was standing at the stove, one hand holding the spatula, the other gripping the edge of the counter like it was going to help me stay upright. The kids were in the living room. The oldest was building a Lego tower that leaned dangerously to the left. The middle one was sprawled out on the floor coloring, and the youngest was in her pajamas, dragging a stuffed rabbit across the rug. Their little voices blended into a kind of background hum, the safe, ordinary sound of a normal weekend. I didn't notice at first that she was moving differently. She wasn't rushing, but she wasn't relaxed either. Just quiet. She walked past me a couple of times with folded clothes in her arms, and I assumed she was putting away laundry. Then I realized the clothes weren't going into the dresser, they were going into a small duffel bag sitting on the bed. No suitcase, no careful packing, just a few shirts, a pair of jeans, a toothbrush. She wasn't even taking her good shoes. There was no conversation, no warning, no fight the night before. Just the sound of the zipper on that bag. I think I heard it more clearly than I heard my own thoughts. She came into the kitchen once, stood by the doorway for a second, like she was deciding whether to say something. She didn't. She just went to each of the kids, one by one, kissed them on the forehead, and lingered for a fraction of a second too long with the youngest. Then she left. No slamming door. Just a soft click, like the end of a sentence you didn't know had started. I kept standing there with the spatula in my hand, staring at the door. I don't know how long I stood there, but the pancakes burned. The smell filled the kitchen, sharp and bitter, and the smoke curled up slowly, like it had nowhere else to go. I remember the youngest coming in, tugging at my leg, asking if breakfast was ready. I nodded, because my mouth wouldn't work. I scraped the blackened pancake into the trash, poured more batter onto the pan, and told myself this was just a weird moment, a glitch in the day. She'd be back before the syrup got cold. She wasn't. The day she left, the house didn't get quieter. It got louder in all the wrong ways. The kids didn't notice at first. The oldest kept working on his Lego tower. The middle one kept coloring. The youngest wandered back and forth between rooms with her stuffed rabbit, humming something off-key. I went through the motions, flipped pancakes, poured orange juice, set plates down. My hands were moving, but my mind was somewhere just outside my own skull, hovering. It wasn't until breakfast was almost over that the first question came. "Where's Mom?" I froze for a moment, the fork halfway to my mouth. The question wasn't sharp or suspicious, just curious, like asking why it was cloudy outside. I swallowed hard and told them she went to visit a friend. The words came out too quickly, too easily, and the moment I said them, I hated how much like a lie they sounded. The youngest didn't even respond, just kept chewing, syrup dripping down her chin. The middle one nodded slowly, as if that answer explained everything, and went back to her coloring. But the oldest, he kept staring at me. Not in a challenging way, just searching. Kids have a way of looking at you like they can see what you're trying to hide, and I knew he didn't believe me. Not entirely. The rest of the day moved in slow motion. I cleaned the breakfast dishes without remembering doing it. The kids argued over the TV remote. I checked my phone 100 times, hoping for a message that never came. By mid-afternoon, they started asking again. First the middle one, when is she coming back? Then the youngest, is she bringing me a toy? Every time, I gave them the same smile, the one that felt tight around the edges, and told them soon. That word felt like a splinter in my mouth. Bedtime was worse. I read them their usual stories, my voice too even, to calm. When I turned off the light in the girls' room, the middle one whispered. She didn't say goodbye. I just stood there in the doorway, my hand on the light switch, unable to think of a single thing that wouldn't sound wrong. Eventually, I said, "Shall see you soon," and closed the door before they could ask anything else. When I finally made it to my own bed, the silence felt like it was pressing down on me. The space where she usually slept was perfectly made, untouched. I lay there staring at the ceiling, realizing I hadn't actually seen her eyes before she left, and somehow, that felt worse than everything else. The first few days felt like I was walking underwater. Everything was slower, heavier, and my body kept moving only because the kids needed me to. Morning started the same way it always had, except without her. No second pair of hands to help pack lunches. No soft hurry up drifting down the hallway. Just me in the kitchen, moving between the counter and the fridge, stepping over toys, burning the first batch of toast because I was staring at my phone again. The kids noticed the difference in ways they didn't talk about but acted out. The oldest got quieter. The middle one got louder. The youngest cried more often for no reason I could fix. We developed a rhythm, but it was the kind you fall into when you're too tired to fight the current. Wake up, feed them, find clean clothes, or at least clothes that didn't smell like yesterday. Brush teeth, argue about shoes, walk to the bus stop, wave until the bus turns the corner, then get the youngest to daycare before I went to work. Work wasn't really work anymore. It was just a block of hours I had to survive until I could pick them up again. I'd answer emails, sit in meetings, nod when people spoke to me, all while part of my mind kept replaying that Saturday morning. Not the leaving itself, but all the little moments before it. The way she poured coffee. The way she didn't hum to herself like she usually did. Evenings were worse. Homework at the table. Laundry tumbling in the background. The smell of overcooked pasta or microwaved leftovers. I tried to keep things light, but the effort made me feel like a bad actor in a play the kids didn't want to watch. Every now and then, I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to text her, not to ask her to come back, just to ask something stupid, like where the spare sheets were, or how to get crayon out of a couch cushion. But I never sent the messages. I'd just stare at the blank screen until my own reflection looked like a stranger's. By the time they were in bed, the house would be filled with the kind of silence that wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that buzzed in your ears, the kind you wanted to fill but couldn't. That was the new routine. Not better, not worse, just emptier. It didn't happen all at once. There was no big meltdown in the middle of the kitchen, no dramatic throwing of plates. It was smaller than that, quieter, and somehow that made it worse. The first time was over something ridiculous, a cereal box. I was making breakfast before school. The middle one asked for the red cereal, and when I opened the pantry, the box was empty, just cardboard and dust. I must have stood there for 30 seconds, staring into it like the answer to everything was printed inside. Then I slammed it down on the counter so hard it startled all three kids. They didn't say anything. They just watched me, eyes wide, like they were trying to figure out if I was about to explode or cry. I didn't do either. I just told them we'd have toast instead, my voice shaking enough for them to notice. After that, I started keeping track of how many times I caught myself on the edge of something I couldn't name. Driving home from work and realizing I didn't remember half the route. Standing in the grocery store with a shopping list in my hand and forgetting what aisle I was in. Sitting in the car outside the daycare, staring at the steering wheel, unable to make myself move for a full 5 minutes. The nights were the worst. After they were asleep, the silence didn't just sit in the room, it crawled under my skin. I'd pour a drink, telling myself it was just one to take the edge off. Then one would become two. Two would become it'll stop after this one. And then I'd wake up at 3 a.m. On the couch, TV still on, lights still bright, the half-empty glass warm in my hand. Sometimes I'd scroll through old photos, not even looking for anything, just punishing myself with all the moments I couldn't get back. The kids in Halloween costumes she had sewn herself, birthday cakes she baked, the way her hand rested on my arm in candid shots, like it belonged there without question. There was one night I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone, scrolled to her name, and started typing. You don't know what this is doing to them. You don't know what this is doing to me. I sat there staring at the words for a long time, fingers hovering over send. In the end, I deleted the whole thing. I told myself it was because it wouldn't change anything. But really, I think I didn't send it because I was scared she'd reply with something short, something final, something I couldn't come back from. The kids never saw the worst of it. At least, I hope they didn't. But even when I was calm, even when I was smiling, I could feel the cracks forming. And I knew one day, something small, a cereal box, a spilled cup of juice, a missed bus, would be enough to split me open. There was no single turning point. No morning when I woke up and thought, all right, you've got this now. It was more like tiny, almost invisible steps forward that only made sense when I looked back. The first was hair. My middle daughter came to me one morning before school with a hairbrush in one hand and a hair tie in the other, looking up at me like I should know what to do. I didn't. I'd always been the high-five and messy ponytail parent, but that day she wanted a braid. I told her to sit at the edge of the couch while I pulled up a YouTube tutorial on my phone. The woman in the video made it look effortless, fingers weaving through silky hair like they'd been born doing it. My version was not that. The braid was lumpy, uneven, and somehow leaning to the left. But when I held up the mirror, my daughter grinned like it just handed her a crown. Next came cooking. Not the throw something in the microwave kind, but actual cooking. The kind with ingredients and steps. I burned a lot at first, ruined entire pans of scrambled eggs, made pasta so overcooked it turned to glue, but slowly, my hands learned the motions, my timing got better. The kids started asking for my pancakes, like they weren't just a sad replacement for hers. Then laundry. It always done my own, but laundry for four people is different. It's a living thing, a beast that grows while you sleep. At first I attacked it in angry bursts, staying up past midnight folding clothes until my eyes burned. Eventually, I learned to make it part of the day. I load before breakfast, a load before dinner, fold in front of the TV with a kid on each side handing me socks. It stopped feeling like a punishment and started feeling like maintenance. The hardest part was showing up emotionally when I didn't want to. There were days I'd be driving home from work thinking about how nice it would be if the kids could just put themselves to bed so I could sit in the dark for a while. But then I'd open the front door and hear them yelling "Daddy," like you'd just come back from a year-long trip. And suddenly, it'd have to become the version of myself they needed. It wasn't perfect. Some nights, my voice was sharper than it should have been. Some mornings, I'd hand them breakfast without a word because I was still half asleep inside my own head. But the more I did it, the more I tried, the more I realized that being both parents at once wasn't about doing everything perfectly. It was about refusing to leave, even in my mind. I didn't become a better dad because I wanted to. I became a better dad because I had no other choice. And somewhere in that slow grind, I started to see tiny flashes of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness, exactly, but proof that we were still moving forward. It's been a year. The seasons have rolled past the windows almost without me noticing. The leaves turned gold, then bare. Snow fell and melted. Rain came and went. Now the trees outside are full again, and the air in the mornings carries that same soft warmth it had the day she left. The house doesn't feel empty anymore, but it doesn't feel full either. It feels ours. Not the same ours it used to be, when her laugh filled the hallway and her shoes sat by the door, but a smaller, quieter version. The kind you grow into without meaning to. The kids have changed in ways I only see when I look at old pictures. The oldest is taller, his voice a little lower. The middle one has this streak of stubborn confidence that wasn't there before, the kind that makes me both proud and a little scared for her teachers. The youngest still sleeps with her stuffed rabbit, but now she calls me Super Dad, like it's my actual name. She started saying it as a joke, but it stuck. Our days have a rhythm now. Breakfast is a little smoother. Bedtime is less of a battle. There's still laundry everywhere, but I've stopped fighting it like it's a war. The kitchen smells like pancakes on Saturdays, and the braids I make for my daughter don't lean to the side anymore. There are still moments that catch me off guard. Folding one of her old shirts I missed in the back of a closet. Hearing a song in the grocery store that used to play in our kitchen while she cooked. Walking past the front door and remembering the sound it made when she closed it that morning. The grief is quieter now, but it hasn't gone anywhere. It just lives in the corners. Some nights, when the kids are asleep and the house is still, I sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, looking at the empty chair across from me. I don't imagine her sitting there anymore. I don't try to fill the space with anyone else. I just let it be empty. We didn't get fixed. We didn't move on in the way people like to say. But we're still here, still standing, and for now, that's enough.